Hi guys, today I want to talk about a few topics that go into each other, but for sure we're going to talk about the cube reality a little bit more. We're also going to define who and what is the 0 point, some sun-moon deception, and more on the ether, and deepfakes and how it is easy to create a copy of you nowadays, which will define what a deepfake is. But I just found it so interesting that you can see the topic of deepfakes pretty much all over, right? And every single content out there at this point, because it means if it's playing out in the physical world so in your face right now, it's already been playing in the energetic realm, in the astral realm for a much longer time. They're just disclosing it to you right now. All right, we're going to start off with 0 points and a comment that came in. And this comment came in on the Bashar video, if I'm not mistaken, but you could apply it to pretty much every deception out there. So the comment reads, and it's from Sess, it reads, remember, we are in a false, distorted light matrix of shared perception. So example, if we are told that that's the moon coming into this reality without any knowledge or memory of it, we are going to believe it, and it doesn't really mean it's real. I'm going to share my thoughts on this comment too. They want everyone hive-minded on a shared perception. And that's why I stepped away from New Age spirituality. It's so toxic and just as manipulated as religion. Agree. They have people talking and channeling beings, telling them what 5D is like. That is suspicious because, in my opinion, that's altering your DNA and conscious memory to perceive a dimension that you have not experienced yourself or have the memory of experiencing. It's influencing and coding you to their false light perception to already expect what that experience is before going into it, manipulating your consciousness. As above, so below, pretty much how they do it. So before we came into this 3D reality of Earth, we were channeling the matrix, thinking we were talking to some godlike beings, and they told us everything they wanted us to believe before coming here. We sold ourselves, basically our souls, a dream. They mind wiped us, got us on a frequency of theirs, calling it an ascension, but it's just them downloading us and putting us in another false matrix timeline system called a dimension, and then just let us go off of the distorted light, shared perception, and encoded conscious memory they told us before coming here. And that's exactly how they do each dimension, and people don't realize that it's all manipulated. Anything that influences you to vibrate outwards of yourself is not real. We may be black holes or the 0 points, and once we activate and find that dark matter inside of us, that is when we really ascend. I personally don't like the word ascend at all, but I believe going inwards is the answer. We then collapse in ourselves and start eating the crap out of this BS type of matrix. The sun was originally at a black hole, or was originally a black hole about to collapse in, but they created the moon, which is a white hole, to feed it unlimited energy and light and block it off from collapsing in on itself, trapping us inside of ourselves. And a 3-letter agency mentions this, not to say that it is a reliable source. The sun is a black hole, the moon feeds it. Black absorb all colors and light, and white reflects all color and light. So my conclusion is the moon is the entrance, the sun is the exit, which is why you never see the back of either luminaries, the sun, the moon, and Earth is the center point, creating an eye, just like a camera lens is. I found this part really, really interesting. Earth was flooded, making 71% water. And equal to our body, our emotions are controlled by the moon. The planet is a projection of the entire universe experiencing self as a reflection of yin and yang, trapped in duality. Purgatory, if you must, of our energy just spinning around a wormhole like a toroid, or a toroidal transformer, or a controlled system, a time machine, maybe. Yeah, so basically what I found really interesting is just this entire example of the Earth being like a camera, or like the Earth being like this eye, or the camera lens, or kind of, you know how there are really old cameras, like pinhole cameras that create a picture. And that image came to my mind when this person was talking about it. They were like, okay, so something reflects through it, reflects something else, and then all of a sudden you have this image, which is basically what we see on Earth. That's basically how an old pinhole camera would work. So if you compare it to that, everything here is a projection of something in that sense. I'm not talking about, you know, people around you being a projection of your inner world or whatever, but literally every single thing you see, every single physical thing is being projected to some sort of pinhole. And this person's calling it a wormhole. So I had videos on, or maybe I think I'll have to make a whole bunch of new videos. Actually, a lot of them are older, but I had videos on wormholes and how there are several different wormholes. So the light at the end of the tunnel that people see when they supposedly die or about to pass over, that is one wormhole, but there are several ones. And so when people say, don't go towards the light at the end of the tunnel, that is just one of so many deceptions that you need to be aware of before you die. So yes, you can try to avoid that entire light and tunnel light, but they're going to throw yet another something at you, whether or not that's going to look like a different tunnel of light or something entirely different. It's just another wormhole that they are going to try to loop you into. And a lot of this has been coming through in sessions that I've been doing recently too. It's just like one wormhole after another, after another, after another. So really, really good comments. And I do appreciate these type of comments because they're just so powerful, right? And I mean, they're worth sharing. Now, with this entire ascension thing, religion has the same concept with ascension, which is basically salvation, or call it whatever. Yeah, religion, New Age, same thing, different sides of the cults. There are so many cults out there, though, as we know. And us being the 0 point was also a really interesting thought pattern, or us being actual black holes. So if you look at it in that form and how a black hole, well, can you even say a black hole is created? I guess not really. If you really want to go down that rabbit hole of how a 0 point even starts to exist or a black hole starts to exist, that could give you an idea of the different types of ages that people have. You know, you want to talk about soul ages, or people being sold, like a small percentage being souls, other people just being actual copies of whatever, you know, not really having a soul. So some of them just being deeper black holes than others, or some of them being the actual black holes, or some of them just being the point of creation. But the rabbit hole in all of that goes even deeper and deeper. So if you have anything to share on this topic, definitely let me know. I really like the camera lens comparison, and I'm sure there are other nuggets in this one for some people as well. So you know, it's worth like just making a video on how did everything really start, because what it's basically implying is that we were somewhere else completely, and it's also implying that Earth still remains at the center of everything, you know. So when you hear especially these New Agers, but not just New Agers, also other spiritual people, when you hear them say constantly that, oh, maybe you came from a different planet and this and that, it almost doesn't matter, because there's nothing there anymore. Everything was taken over by AI. And also that everything keeps looping back to Earth, or wherever we even are. You know, it's called Earth, but what that really is, if it's just some sort of realm or these different layers into each other. So everything keeps coming back to Earth, and Earth still remains at the center. So the only thing that really matters is Earth. Nothing really else, you know, like all the other planets don't really matter, unless you want to really go into, okay, so the sun and the moon interact with each other. They create these projections through Earth. And then that does matter in a form or another. But does Jupiter really matter? Does Orion even, like, do all these things matters? Because a lot of them are just projections, or they've just been replaced through different things. And what we're seeing is not really what's out there, because a lot of that's around us, you know, like the entire sky firmament is just a huge projection anyway, and we don't really know what's outside of there, because we're not being shown the real images by all of these agencies that supposedly have the galaxy images, the universe images, right? Like a lot of them are just pure fake and created in a studio, or just kind of they photographed other things, let's put it that way. Okay, I want to go back to Aether. A lot of the moon landings were, for example, filmed in white sands, for people who didn't know. So Aether, was it moon landings or was it the Mars? Something was filmed in white sands, but I forgot which one. Aether was removed from the periodic table in the late 1800s to 1900s. It's because every experiment done from Earth showed that our world was stationary and the heavenly bodies were moving instead. Therefore, they had to remove the Aether from the equation for their astrological models to work. So basically, if the Aether exists, then the Earth is indeed not moving, is this theory. We're going to click this away to the cube reality. And there were a few comments that came in after I posted that on the most recent YouTube live. And one was basically saying how in Hindu scriptures, it says that ether is a fifth element, and it's seen within our body, also outside. When one masters earth, water, fire, air, controlling or using ether becomes easy. That's how seers teleport, levitate, and so on. But then another one came in from yet a different person, and this was almost more interesting because it implies that the person saying, when I was studying chemistry, we had a history of chemistry. They told us that ether was a fifth element that was believed to cause fire, meaning light and heat effect during burning. Now it's said that oxidation causes this effect. And I read somewhere that ether was the fifth element and that the other four were born from it. So the other four elements were actually born from ether. So take it as you will. If you have any thoughts on that, also let us know. Now, with the cube reality right here, there was an interesting reel on Instagram how older buildings are not built the same way. We know this, of course, but they're not built the same way the newer ones are. And older is most likely hundreds of years ago, maybe 1840 and before, but for sure nothing in the 1900s and beyond. And so ancient buildings never used to be square. And in geometry, square is actually the most limited shape. And now everything's square, like every single room that we're in, most likely what you're in right now, it's square. And when you have squares, it's shaping and molding your mind. And you also have like square TVs, everything's square, everything. And in ancient times, they built pointed roofs so energy could escape. Or if you look at the pyramids, it's like all of these more elaborate shapes. Cubed or squared rooms trap energy, and arguments, emotional energy can get trapped in those square rooms. And I personally found that actually pretty accurate too, because they are relatively easy to cleanse as well, but there is this entire square mentality. So you look at this is like a more modern thing, and then this is a more modern thing too from the 1900s, as opposed to these more elaborate structures that have circles, not just squares, so it's there is something to it, and everything's a square. You're looking at a square right now while you're viewing this video. It's basically everything's square. This phone, it's a square. It's like different types of rectangles and squares. So if energy is trapped in it in a form and they're creating more and more friction between people, there could be something to it. Now, to the deep fakes, there's this video which I'll put in the description too. And this video is saying how a woman discovers deepfakes on her social media. So a deepfake, let's just go through the simple definition of a deepfake. For people who don't know, it's a video of a person in which their face or body has been digitally altered so that they appear to be someone else, typically used maliciously or to spread false information. So basically, someone is trying to communicate to you or the false you, a scam or whatever, and a video of you is sent from them to you. And in that video, you are basically shown, just like it says, you can just look at this video. So this person here on the right is the real person, and this is the deep fake on the left. And you can barely really see a difference when you view it on the screen, but the mouth does not entirely correspond to the words that are being said, because a video was taken from her, let's just say her social media, like her Facebook or Instagram reels, and it was converted, like the sound was erased and was kind of converted into a video that they wanted to make, like asking for different type of information, let's just say your bank account number or whatever information. And they use an AI voice to mask your own voice and everything. So there's a lot of technology that's behind it, but in short, they do have this type of technology. And there are stories how, people lost out on up to $25 million in conference meetings because they're even able to do this in a live Zoom call or like a live video in general. But in this instance, they basically just took parts of her videos that she posted online and created deep fakes and created like a whole new account online, either a Facebook account or some other social media account of her, which wasn't her real account. And then a few people fell for it. Like I think they were asking for money from some people, and these fell for it. So I think she works in news or whatever, which is why she's a bit more popular in the area that she works in. But they're obviously not able just to do it with popular people. They're able to do it with any type of person. Now, if you're wondering whether or not you should just stop posting videos and reels, myself included, the video goes on saying they can actually even create a deep fake from what? From just like a regular photo that you post online, and then they animate the photo and add a little bit of mouth movement and the AI generated voice over it. And there you have a deep fake already too. And then when you're saying, okay, I can just call someone live and see if that person is actually live or it's a scammer, they've done that. They faked live Zoom calls too. And then the person who made the video is basically saying that you can just ask them to wave a hand in front of the face, like do some more elaborate hand gestures that cannot be as easily faked because the technology is not that far yet. And if they have like 6 fingers or something, you know that it's just a wrong one or whatever. So that could definitely be an option if you run across a fake profile of yourself online, which it's just so absurd to even think about this, that this even exists, right? But this is the reality that they want us in, that they want to create. Like I have a whole bunch of AI videos already from this past spring, you know, how they're already creating AI nurses and this and that. Like this is really the reality that is being created in the background. And a lot of us are just being distracted from it through all of the other stuff they're throwing at us in the media and the political circus that really doesn't matter, like those type of things that this is probably going to go under in between somehow. And talking about cubes and cube realities, you actually have a cube in Mecca called the Cabba, okay? And look what it looks like. It looks like this, like an actual black cube. So it's not just the black cubes that the Jewish people have, which we already went through that in the last YouTube live, how obviously supposedly some Jews founded the Islam religion and everything. But it's definitely worth reading on that more because I feel there's more to that story. Now, someone had actually commented saying there were over 1,000 people that died in Mecca this past summer. So that would be July 2024 because of the extreme heat being temperatures reaching more than 50 Celsius or 122 Fahrenheit. And supposedly 1,301 pilgrims died. I just looked it up. So 131, so it's like 5, it equals the number 5. Anyhow, due to extreme heat and that it felt like sacrificial vibes, there's also fires that sometimes break out in the area, which I personally didn't know. And the black cube or the black stone, supposedly, so the Cabba, or however you pronounce that, is a black stone whose now broken pieces are surrounded by a ring of stone and held together by a heavy silver band. According to tradition, this stone was given to Adam on his expulsion from paradise in order to obtain forgiveness of his own sins. So that is the entire symbology behind it. But anything that has a cube obviously means something deeper than that. I was animated to look up the definition of Dharma because whenever I'm writing certain type of words, my phone autocorrects sometimes to Dharma. I have no idea why, but I just saw it as a sign to look deeper into Dharma. So obviously you have the typical, I don't want to say New Age meanings of Dharma because it's originally from Buddhism or even, I guess, from Sanskrit. You know, it's from all these other cultures, but Dharma is easily hijacked by the entire yoga community and also the New Age community. And supposedly it means right way of living or the path of rightness. So it doesn't really give you much of direction. Now, I found something on a different feed that was saying Dharma is actually, just like, where is it again? Okay, let me just look this up real quick. Conforming to your Dharma means following that path through life and performing those actions that best agree with you as an individual in the context of the environment in which you exist, which it's not really sure what that environment really is because you can change environments, right? But the way that I saw it is it's almost like the soul blueprint that each and every one of us have. And that Dharma could be a form of just fulfilling whatever it is that the soul really aches us to do, or that we are really here on a deeper soul level, on a deeper soul purpose to do. And yes, I do think for sure there's a deeper purpose to our existence. I know a lot of those pseudo spiritual soul trap community clowns think differently, but it's strange because a lot of them are still here spreading their misinformation. So they must have a purpose as well. All right. If anyone has any thoughts on Dharma or the black cubes or any type of cubes, definitely let us know. Always appreciated. And I hope this helps someone. Thank you so much for everything you do. I'll see you in the next video for sure.